Yo, what's going on? So in this video, I want to show you two things. One, why you absolutely need to have some sort of AI workspace that you are using on a daily basis in 2025. And I'm going to show you the exact workspace that I use, how easy it is to set up, why I think it's the best one, so you can get started. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. My main thing is by the end of this video, watch this video, but most importantly, take action. Because like I put on this slide right here, if you do not have an AI workspace in 2025, you're basically cooked. I don't even say shit like that, but that's the first thing that came to mind. You need to have something that you're constantly using every day to partner with AI. So you're starting to build kind of like a second brain for yourself. And I'm gonna explain how to do that and why to do that in here. Okay, so this is something that in our program, Genesis, we have 320 plus people. I tell them, in fact, I'm really rolling this out to be mandatory for everyone who works for me and everyone who's in my programs, that yes, there are more sophisticated ways to build a second brain and do what we're about to do, but you need to just start and go from 0 to 1. If you're just using ChatGPT right now without any order or organization, you are leaving a really, really massive piece that can continue to grow what it is that you're doing. So we all know the power of exponentials, right? We all know the power of exponential returns. I think it was Buffett who said it's one of the secrets and wonders of the universe, right? And what we're doing when we're talking about a second brain is we're taking AI, which is already an insane technology, and now we're layering in exponential returns, because every time that we're using AI in this second brain, it's getting smarter, knowing us more, and making the tasks that we're trying to do so much faster. And when you stack that up over a few days, a few weeks, a month, a year, that's just going to change and give you such a major advantage. So you have to start right now. Okay, so what do we need? What do we mean when I talk about like an AI workspace? So this is something where when you're planning your day, strategizing about either getting clients or your business, executing a task like writing copy, making a YouTube video, making slides, whatever it is, you should have some sort of place where you can bounce ideas back and forth with AI. Most of us are already doing that. However, an AI workspace, a second brain, which is what we're building, you need a few additional components to make this virtuous cycle. So one thing is, of course, you need to have the inputs, the sensors, right? This is the information that you're giving it about your life, your business, your task, whatever it is you want to do. Second thing is that you need memory, which we're calling storage right here. Then we also need learning, right? So it's building on top of those. And then you need some sort of agentic thing, something that can take an action and actually perform a task for you. And this AI workspace I'm going to tell you about, it's Claude Projects. I'm not going to try to gatekeep it. It's Claude, right? But it's a specific way to use Claude that I think is probably the easiest, most beginner friendly, but really, really robust tools that you can use. Okay. So one thing is the reason why this is so important. This is a really good metaphor, okay? So I want you to imagine the smartest person in the world, but they're stuck inside a dark room, okay? They can think, but they can't see, they can't taste, they can't hear, they can't touch anything, they can't smell anything, meaning they have no sensory experience, no information from the outside world. At the same time, they can think all of these thoughts, but they have short-term memory, right? So every 5 seconds, they forget everything that you told them, right? And no matter how smart they are, they also can't do anything, right? They don't have opposable thumbs to grab anything. They can't talk. They can't produce any sort of action. Right? It does not matter how smart that person is. If they cannot sense and take in information, if they cannot take in action, and they cannot store long-term memory, they're functionally useless. Okay, and that's a lot of the ways that people are using AI. Yes, it's great for a back and forth conversation. Maybe you're using it for a few things, writing a paper, sending an email, brainstorming an idea. But if you don't have some of these features in there where it's constantly taking in new information, constantly remembering and storing that information, and then taking actions on your behalf, you're losing so much of its power on the table. And it can be complicated to try to set this up on your own, but Claude Projects makes this super, super easy, okay? So let's talk about this. So again, we need an AI that has sensors, taking in information, memory, which is the context, and then of course actions, which it can execute. So let's jump into that. Why do I want to use Claude Projects, okay? So ChatGPT is amazing. There's some features in ChatGPT that I like better than Claude. For example, it has a built-in memory feature, which Claude currently on the desktop app doesn't have, but that doesn't matter. Claude, I love using Claude, especially for writing tasks. I'm a copywriter. If you're a marketer, it is by far the best writing task. And I love the models, right? They're very, 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 very smart. So obviously we know the model is good. We don't need to talk too much more about that one. The next thing you need to do is you need to basically upload it with life information. Okay, so let me show you a little bit. This is inside of my own projects. I got all kinds of things that are going on here, all kinds of conversations as well, right? So you're gonna go and you can create a project. This is what it looks like. Okay, by the way, this is the desktop app. You can use it in your browser, but I recommend getting the app for some of the stuff that we'll talk a little bit later. And then you go and create a personal project. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do one around making YouTube videos. Okay, so your job is to make the best possible YouTube videos. So we're gonna open that here. And then you're gonna see a couple different things. Like I said, this interface is super, super user-friendly, but it's really, really, really robust. So a couple things is this is where you have your conversation. This is where you store your conversation. Next thing you have is you have this project knowledge where you can upload a file from your device, a PDF, a TXT file, a doc, a Word, whatever. You can click here and you can add text content. So you can put the title, you can put whatever content that you want. The other thing that you can do, which is really powerful, is you can basically connect your Google Drive. Okay, we're starting to get into some of the memory features. As you update something in a Google Doc, maybe you have a planning doc, right? So this is where I do all my daily planning. You can add that in here, and every time you update that doc, Claude now has access to that updated project. Okay, so you can put those things in here. You can just pop the link, whatever it is that you want. And that becomes your project knowledge, right? This is not a super sophisticated RAG system, right? It is robust enough. where it can look and it can access and read a lot of the things you have, especially with some of the better models. It's very, 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 very powerful. The limitation you'll run into is, of course, storage space and context limits. But for most tasks, especially if you break down your projects the way I'm about to explain, you're not going to run out of context. The last thing is setting your project instructions. This is insanely, insanely powerful. Probably the most underutilized aspect. A lot of people just rely on the project knowledge, which is fine, but then you're leaving it up to the model to decide, oh, I'm going to go and grab the parts and the information that I like. The project instructions are basically the filter that the AI is going to think through every time it performs an action, right? And that's what makes it so powerful. Now, inside of Genesis and many of the workshops and things that we do, we go through really, really in-depth ways to set up these bot instructions. Not inside of Claude Projects, but for some of the bots that we have, our projects are literally 100 pages long, 150 pages long, 50 pages long. They're very, very long and in-depth. We don't do that for our own health. We do that because when you set up, it's basically a prompt. When you set it up with the right architecture, with the right modules, in the right order, with the right examples, it's insanely impressive what you're able to create. We've created some amazing bots that have made people a lot of money, including ourselves. So you can get sophisticated in here, but I'll show you a super beginner, basic way that you can set these up, okay? There'll be some other things that you can put in here, but the main thing I want to talk about is what kind of projects should you make, right? So you may look at it, you're like, all right, I don't know what projects I want to make. The mental model that has most served me is honestly to use a biological metaphor when thinking about AI. So just in the same way I talked about somebody who was blind and deaf and didn't have memory, let's apply another biological metaphor for AI. So think about your own life. When you go and you start a task, right? Let's say you have your entire day. During that day, you are going to put on different thinking hats. So in the morning, when you're trying to plan out your day, you're just planning out, okay, I'm looking at my day. All I'm trying to do is plan everything out, right? Then maybe you have a higher level strategy session where you're thinking about your entire life, or you're just thinking about your business, right? And then you have task hats that you put on. Okay, I got to write an email. I got to make a YouTube video. Okay, so what you'll see is that there are different levels at which you're thinking, different hats and identities that you're putting on. And a lot of times you can order those into a hierarchy. So maybe at the very top of the hierarchy, you have something that knows all of like my biggest life plans, my dreams, my desires, my fears, who I am as a person, all of that stuff. Then maybe below that, you have different buckets of your life. You have, this is my personal brand. This is my business, right? This is my relationships. This is my fitness, all of that. Then within one of those buckets, you have another layer. So let's say in your business, okay, I have 3 different businesses. Okay, cool. Now in each business, what else do you have? Well, I have the content that I need to produce. I have the operations, right? So something that understands all the operations, something that understands all my HR, something that understands the finances, something that understands my marketing, something that understands my overall strategy. And you can keep breaking this down almost like you would do an org chart of your life, all the way down to the task level where it's like, I have one thing, one mindset when I just need to write an email. Okay. So what you can do is almost like an org chart with the same sort of organization, you can start to create projects for each of those. What I have found is just like us, when we have to put on a thinking hat to think in one direction, AI is the same thing. So you really want one project or one slice of your AI to just be thinking about your life vision. Then you want another one to just be thinking about your overall business strategy. Then maybe you want another one to just be thinking about your marketing strategy. Then you want another one to just be thinking about your email ideas. Then you want another one to just be thinking about your email execution, right? It may seem like a lot, and it is a lot, right? There's a lot of different projects to build. The cool thing is AI, because it's intelligent, fills in a lot of gaps. So it does not need to be perfect. If you have any sort of granularity of just something that thinks big and something that thinks small, you can build these as you need. And I'm going to show you the fastest way to set these up. And what's amazing is as you start to build these, which is why I'm making this video, like just to get you from 0 to 1. If you do not have this, just, if you take nothing else from this video, just walk away with having one of these projects because it's going to change your life. The cool thing is once you start to have these set up, I was just experiencing this today, is you can have these different aspects talk to each other and help each other out. So for example, let's say you're trying to write an email and you're like, dang, I can't think of an email. Let me go up to my overall business strategy and what are some emails that would appeal to XYZ and do this, okay? And so you can have them ask each other questions almost. Again, there's sophisticated ways, but literally just copy and pasting. Like, okay, you're my email bot. What questions would you ask to write the best email? Okay, now I can send those questions, throw it into one of the other bots, and vice versa. And when you get this cross-pollination and cross-connection of information, you really are on your way to creating a second brain. Okay, that's what's so powerful about this system. So to summarize, when you're trying to build these Claude projects, the best way to think about it is to think about it as what are all the different hats that I wear in my life and in my business, okay? And you can start to organize them in a hierarchy, almost like an org chart, with ones that handle big, complicated tasks and one that handle important subtasks. So just as an example, in my own business, I have ones that are basically strategy ones. I have ones that are specific for some of my hobbies. I have ones that are specific for writing agents. I have ones that are specific for literally making YouTube videos like the one that I'm setting up here, okay? So that's one of the most important ones. Now, the first thing is how do you set this up? Like if I don't know anything, like if I'm starting from a blank canvas, is you can just come here and ask it, hey, can you please, like I don't know how to set this up. It doesn't know any information about me. How can you go and set this up really, really fast? Well, one of the first things you can do is either through typing or using a voice transcription tool like Whisper Flow, which is something I recommend everyone do. It just saves you so much time. Ask me up to 10 questions that will give you all the information that you need to know in order to make YouTube videos for me, okay? And what's cool with that software is it just cleans up exactly what you do. I love using voice because it uses a different part of your brain. And it just helps you get started because sometimes it's easier to talk through an idea and kind of ramble a little bit to figure out what it is that you want to say. Now it's going to ask me these 10 questions. And now I can say, well, there's two things I could do. If I already have a project set up, I could just copy and paste this and I could pop it into another project and have it answer everything based on what it knows about me. Or I can just do the same thing. The type of content I want to create educational content in the copy, marketing, and AI space in order to attract more customers into some of the other programs we have and provide as much value as possible. My target audience is freelancers, solopreneurs, small business owners, and probably medium to large business owners, people who are interested in copy and marketing and also interested in AI and direct response. My main goals with these videos, again, build a community and brand awareness, as well as to teach and share all the knowledge that we have. My current experience level of video creation is probably a little bit beginner. I have a YouTube channel already, but we're starting to move forward, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just start to answer all of these different questions. Cool. So you can pop that in there. It's not perfect because I didn't answer all of the questions, but let's just go with what we have so far. Cool. So it's starting to give me a little bit of information here. Now, one thing I can say is, can you now create an artifact that is a fact sheet with everything that you know so far about my YouTube video content strategy? Okay. And understand this language of artifact. This is basically going to create something here, which is going to pop out on the side. You'll see in a second. And what's cool is now I can actually save this. I can do a lot of things with this. So I can copy it directly, publish it if I want to, download as Markdown, save as PDF. But once it's done, one of the cool things that I can do, let's let it finish. Okay, now that looks done, is I can copy to the project, right? And what that's going to do is now this fact sheet is going to be saved on here. So just literally, it was a cold start. I told it to ask me questions, I answered questions, or I can have one of the other projects answer questions. I can put this into a fact sheet. I can save it. It's insanely powerful. The other thing that I can do now is I can do the same thing. Okay, now based on what you know, can you create a system prompt for me that will help me to brainstorm the best possible ideas? And what this is going to do is it's going to give me something that I can put into those project instructions. Remember what we talked about before? By the way, this is insanely powerful. I built one today that will write me entire YouTube video scripts for some of the different ones that I did, and it wrote me a script, and it was phenomenal. All I did was I put in some information from one of the calls that I had in my coaching program. It was almost perfect. No editing. So it's insanely fast what you're able to do with these. And as you can see, this is a pretty good prompt, right? It has the identity statement, core channel details, et cetera, et cetera. And again, we're just getting started. I can continue to edit this, and I should continue to edit it, because literally if I'm just working in these workspaces every day and continually just refining and tweaking and adding new information, these things are getting smarter, and that's how you get these exponential returns. So let's go here. This one I'm just going to copy directly, and I'm going to come here and save it on the project instructions. Again, you might ask, what's the difference between the project instructions and saving it in the project knowledge space? The thing is that if you put it in the project knowledge space, you're relying on the AI to use its own judgment on when and what and where to access information on here. So you're basically relying on it to pull out the information it thinks is relevant. If you put it here, every conversation you have is going to get filtered through this prompt as well. Okay, so this is a way to kind of control the overall output. And again, I will continue to edit this. I'll continue to edit the fact sheet. And if I want to make a Google Doc where if I'm adding new information from somewhere else, it will continue to update it as well. So hopefully you have a sense of like, okay, these are the type of projects we want to make, and this is how I'm starting the projects as well. Let's go a little bit deeper on here. So for the memory features, we already touched on this a little bit, but let me be clear on where the memory is. So the memory is here on your project knowledge, and it's also going to be things that you could add into here. Like I said, if you put a Google Doc and you update that Google Doc, automatically it's going to have access to the updated version of that. But let's say that I have something new, like give me 10 hypothetical winning YouTube titles. Okay, so this is hypothetical, but let's say, for instance, I have these YouTube titles that did well. I could say something like, these are the best, highest performing YouTube titles that I have so far. What I'd like you to do is analyze them and kind of make some predictions of some other things that we could do. And let's put that in an artifact so we can save it. So we'll let that run. And basically what it's going to do is, let's say that we're continuing to get feedback and data from the YouTube videos that are working. Every time we do, we just pop it in here. We take the existing artifact that was already saved and we say, hey, can you edit this artifact? And then we pop that back in there. So every time that we're doing a YouTube video, we're getting more refined data each time based on this is what's performing or not performing. And this thing is just getting smarter and smarter. Are there ways to automate this and just have it completely set up? Yes. But are most people still not even doing this step? Also, yes, I know, because I talk to so many business owners, freelancers, marketers, even sophisticated people, and they're not doing this process, even though it's going to save them so much. The reason they don't is because it's new and it's uncomfortable, and I got to go and I got to make this a whole new thing and figure out how to start. But I'm telling you, just rip the Band-Aid off, get started today, and you will start to reap the rewards extremely fast. I've only had my version of this set up for a little bit, and I've already been able to be so much more productive and so much faster with some of the tasks that we have. Okay, so we can pop that in there, and then once it's done, we can save it back to the project. So that's how the memory feature of this works as well. The last thing is the action capabilities. Now, if you just go and look up Claude Desktop MCP, Claude, I'll type it out, Claude Desktop MCP. I'll make a few videos on this a little bit later. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to connect Claude to certain tools. So for example, there's great Google integrations, so Gmail, Calendar, Drive. There's a Zapier integration, and there are also ways to connect other agent building tools like N8N. What this allows you to do is the last component, right? You took your really intelligent, smart guy, you gave him eyeballs and earballs and noseballs and allowed him to sense the world around him, and you're giving him memory. Now, the last thing you got to do is you got to give him hands and a voice to talk and the ability to actually take actions in the world. That's what you can do with MCP. It's outside the scope of this video, but once you set it up, you can have it connected to Zapier to send emails and connect to any workflow that you want it to do. This literally means like this becomes one of the most powerful workspaces in the world because, again, it has the memory, it has the intelligence, it has everything. I'm not going to repeat myself. So that's a really, really powerful one. Again, just go and Google Claude Desktop MCP. You can figure it out from there, and I'll make a video later on that topic as well. Cool. So the easy setup, we talked about this already. Use voice notes. You can have it talk to other agents. So once you have the one around your full life vision and you're trying to figure out your business strategy, one thing you probably got to figure out for your business strategy is what is your ultimate goal for life? All right, well, you could remember it or just ask the one that you already trained it on, okay? And that becomes the power. You can have them start to talk to each other, okay? We talked about that, talked about pushing yourself through it, some of the habits that you're going to want to use. As you upload this makes it better, and that's the virtuous cycle that we talked about, okay? Now, one of the big takeaways that I want, the main reason to have this video is, one, starting to use some of these biological metaphors when thinking about AI, really thinking about AI as a second brain. The next one is when it comes to a second brain, just go 0 to 1, because I promise once you have this kind of shift in your thinking and in your workflow, you should want to make this more sophisticated, meaning it's more agentic, it's more automatic, and you get a little more cross-pollination in the aspects of your life that talk to each other. But it always requires the first step, going from 0 to 1. All right, and this is going to prepare you as these models scale and become more intelligent. You are going to be prepared because you've already accommodated yourself to what it's like to work with these tools in an intimate way, one-on-one, and you're already going to have so much data and information about your life that you're going to start to be able to get head starts and lead forward. Okay, we're talking about becoming transhuman. Main thing is don't overcomplicate it. So super simple setup, you get massive results, and you can continue to improve from there. If you're interested in anything else around AI, we have a community of over 320 plus marketers, direct response operators, solopreneurs, freelancers, a lot of really, really smart people who are both good at making money with direct response marketing and copy, and also good with AI tools. We have tons of training that will walk you through pretty much anything that you need to know, as well as a community that's actively building these tools. So if you need a place where you're like, hey, I don't want to figure all this stuff out by myself. I'd rather start to use tools that are built by the community and by myself and my business partner. Genesis is the place to be, right? So we have tons of different bots that can do anything for you, market research, writing full VSLs, writing emails, pretty much anything in the world that you want to do. If you're interested in that, there's some places below where you can opt into my email list where there are opportunities you can reach out through there. We also have an AI newsletter if you want to stay up to date. That's 100% free. And you can always email me. That's my direct email on there if you have questions about Genesis or any of the other things that we do. As always, thank you so much for the time. Comment below what you thought about this video and what you want to see more of, because I'm about to go on a streak and make a ton more videos for you guys. Peace.